welcome to the Next Canon podcast. My name is Dani, as you know, and today is very, very exciting because today we have Xandi. Say hi, Xandi.
Hello, hello, hello.
Xandi is fantastic. They are a stage manager, which is a very exciting perspective that I am very happy to have on this podcast. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself, Xandi.
I'm Xandi. I've been stage managing in Seattle for about a decade. I moved here after college, moved back after college. I work for people like Seattle Shakespeare Company a lot. I've worked a little at Village. I've worked with Seattle with Bathhouse quite a bit. I've worked at the Rep, but never for the Rep, which is sort of my goal is to work at the Rep. But yeah, I'm all over. I freelance everywhere I can be.
That's fantastic. How has the quarantine situation been for you?
Absolutely terrible. I have not worked since we went into quarantine. I did one Zoom show, and it was not for me. I'm not a Zoom stage manager. I think that our job is not as necessary in Zoom theater, which is kind of nice. I took a break this year. I haven't taken a break from theater since I was 14. So it was sort of nice to have a hiatus, and now I'm ready to go back.
Oh yeah. Give it to us.
I want those jobs. I want those shows. I want to do new works.
Exactly. Want to be in this space.
I do want to be in a space. Stage managers are always in the space. That's what I miss about. The Zoom shows didn't have any of being in a theater where the theater magic happens.
Right. It's very discombobulating being in your own space. I haven't done it really either, but it's it's similar to many other Zoom interactions. It's you're here and you're here, and then when you're done, whoop, it's all gone.
There's no wind down when you do Zoom. Yeah. There's no. One of my favorite things as a stage manager is walking through the entire theater space and making sure there aren't any people remaining. And so there's none of that with Zoom. It's just leave, end, and you're done. And there's no saying goodbye to every actor and making sure everyone had a good show and finding out why people didn't and that kind of thing is what I really...
Checking in with the people, humans.
Yeah. Beings. I miss beings. I keep saying I miss people's knees.
Oh my God.
One from the waist down. I miss people's knees a lot.
That's so funny. So sort of getting into our topic, what, as a stage manager, you have a similar but super different view of all of the shows. What do you consider canon? What does that word mean to you in the theater?
You say the canon, my thought immediately goes to Shakespeare. And I'm sure you've gotten that before, but I have done a lot of Shakespeare. And so my immediate canon is the Shakespeare and Tom Stoppard and the stuff you quote unquote read in school. Because I don't know about you, but I did not read all the plays I was supposed to when I was in college. I skimmed some. I went over some with my friends. We divvied out who read what.
Yeah. But every once in a while you read one, but that's literally once in a blue moon.
I read Oleana. That was a show. I read Alina on painkillers after I'd had a spinal tap. I know. It was just not, it was a trip. It was like reading it on mushrooms. I've never done mushrooms, but it felt
imagine.
Hard drugs. But I always go to Shakespeare when I think of the canon, especially when you think of the canon that's kind of overdone. I'm really tired of seeing Shakespeare. I'm not actually tired of doing Shakespeare. I love doing Shakespeare in the Park because I feel like it's the most revolutionary of the Shakespeare that we do, because it gives the option to be... Can you totally hear my wife's keyboard in the background?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's all good.
Okay, great. I just realized I could hear her typing. But we share a home office.
It's all good.
But yeah, I think of Shakespeare and Shakespeare in the Park, which I do a lot of and love to do, but it makes you wonder, what else could you do in a park?
Right.
I would love to see, I've been trolling on New Play Exchange a lot because you can find so many cool Shakespeare's, right? That's the thing people forget about Shakespeare, I think, a lot of the time, is that he was just like one of us.
Yeah.
Shakespeare would have been on Zoom complaining about how he wanted to be back in the theater. I thoroughly believe Shakespeare would have been getting high and having a lot of sex during his play. And like writing plays, because that's what he did during the plague that Shakespeare went through, is write a bunch of plays and sonnets, which is basically what artists are doing now, is like, what can we possibly produce with what we have?
Yeah.
And so like new play exchange and just talking to people about what they're producing during quarantine, I can't wait to see that stuff in the parks.
Yeah.
There's my Shakespeare in the Parks diatribe. Also, no one ever needs to do Tempest again.
Agreed. That is a common theme.
Tempest is the only show I've walked out of at intermission.
Oh yeah? What happened? Tell me the story.
Oh my God. I won't name the school, but it was a school production, and they had an aerial who was flying, but it was like really poorly done, and they had clearly blown like their entire wad on the fact that they could fly aerial, and everything else was just crap. And I had the flu. And at intermission, just like, I cannot do this, and I'm leaving. And I walked. I sort of lost my train of thought, but basically Tempest is overdone. If I see one more Prospera and calling it revolutionary, it's like, we've all seen it. You can have Prospera. It's not Prospero. Whoa!
You mean it's just a woman now colonizing this island? Interesting.
You didn't change any of the lines or the plot or anything. You just like made it a woman.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
No one's ever done that.
Revolutionary. Yeah, Shakespeare is one of those. A lot of people, there are some people who love the adaptation situation, and sometimes it's done really fun. I just had Meme Garcia on the show, who is doing House of Sueños with which is their own adaptation for their life into Hamlet, which is so cool, and it's a podcast right now. And I'm like,
crazy amazing. That's how we should take Shakespeare and revolutionize it.
Right.
Plus Meme Garcia. Right.
Also. So when
you worked with Meme, I just have worked like side by side. We've done things like in rep together. So like dream to work with them.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'd never met them before they came on my podcast, and I was glowing the whole time. So so in like whatever canon you see fit, what is the show that has to go besides Tempest? Goodbye, Tempest.
Tempest. I don't think anyone ever needs to do anything by Tom Stoppard ever again. And like that's a really broad category, but like picnics and what's the other piece that's just like Picnic, that's about like boys? I don't even remember what it's called. That's how much I don't like Tom Stoppard. I'm just so tired of the like think pieces about white men who just need to have this expression the whole time. Just like scrunch face. Honestly, I don't think we need to do anything. Like, let's have a world of do 2 years of nothing that was made before 2000. Like, be a theater company. That's my company does that, where we're like, we don't do old pieces. And we're certainly not the only ones old pieces, 2000 odd. But that kind of Meme is a great example of like there's so much being adapted and so much new, that your theater canon at this point is almost anything that has already been done. Movies are remade at this point over and over and over again. But why do we do that? Why do we not just do a new piece every time we do theater? There are so many new works out there. There are so many plays that could be adapted and could be workshopped. And we have the resources to do that as stage managers and actors and producers, where we can take playwrights and have them in the room. Every actor now has experience with playwriting. Everyone does more than one thing. And so there's no reason that we shouldn't be tapping into skill sets that aren't just get on stage and emote. when we have all these amazing artists and actors and playwrights and designers who write, and all these people who can be collaborating and creating an incredible process instead of taking words from someone who isn't in the room and just memorizing them and putting them on stage. And usually memorizing them incorrectly because we don't have that person in the room to have that back and forth with. So when you get your playwright in the room, you can be like, why are you saying, why is it like this? Why is the word choice like this? What is this supposed to mean? And it can help, like having the playwright in the room is such a way of growing a project and growing a play, and it can be so much better. I think we should always be doing that.
Yeah. That's the more fun way, because you get to like sort of dig in a different way. And it's always like scary as an actor to be like, oh my gosh, the person who wrote it is sitting right there, until you get used to that as like the norm.
Normally the playwright in the room is like, oh my God, there are people on stage. There are people here saying my lines. And it's like a bear situation where they're just as afraid of you as you are of them.
Right.
And everyone, like, that's one of the things I love about stage managing, is that you know how afraid everyone in the room is.
Right.
And so it's a chance to be a calming presence and a chance to be sort of like the fountain of calm. Like, everyone is freaked out. It's okay. We're all just on the journey together. And so, like, that's one of the things that I love to do, is knowing everyone in the room and knowing sort of like what makes them tick and what makes them afraid, so that you have the ability to eliminate those fear pieces. Because if you know what actor is most afraid of what playwright, that's why you get teriyaki with those two people at lunch and talk about Pokemon cards. Because once you've talked about like your childhood obsession with Pokemon cards, no one's afraid of anything anymore.
You're just chilled out.
Exactly. You're just people. Like, once everyone realizes it's just people in the room, people tend to like,
oh yeah, we're all normal. Oh, good.
Right?
No one needs to be deified in this situation. Oh, amazing.
Honestly. And you can't do that when you've got Shakespeare or Marlowe or Tom Stoppard or all these people who are long dead and we have idolized. Like, God, when I was a young stage manager, I called line notes. You had your Shakespeare line notes and your normal line notes, because you had to get your Shakespeare lines exactly 100% perfect every single time, because otherwise Shakespeare would kill you, come back from the dead and kill you. It's like, Shakespeare does not give two who cares? Shakespeare purists care that you get those Shakespeare lines down right.
They sure do.
And they should go elsewhere. They should go on Shakespeare movies.
Right. There should be a game show just for people who have Shakespeare like stupid memorized.
Oh my God. But they shouldn't allow actors to play. It should just be like laymen.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine?
The best artistic directors who are like on there, like, okay, artistic director against artistic director. And there are some really incredible artistic directors who know some really incredible Shakespeare, and I love them for it. But I would totally watch them on a game show competing for it.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
100%. I could think of like teachers of mine throughout my education that I'm like, this would be an incredible throwdown.
Oh my God.
Of Shakespeare knowledge. They would go for blood too. Like,
I'm picturing my school, we had to take our Shakespeare class in the English department. They didn't teach them in the theater department, but it was taught by this like little wrinkly old woman who was probably 207.
Oh, incredible.
It was, and I can just picture her throwing down with Shakespeare knowledge.
Freaking gauntlet like thrown.
Oh, with George Mount would just like annihilate everyone with Shakespeare knowledge.
I don't know. Amy Thone might annihilate everyone.
Oh, that's true. But Amy Thone's an actor. Like, there you.
I guess that's true, but a lot of the artistic directors were actors at a time.
That's true. I don't think of Amy as an artistic director. She was in. I did Julius Caesar with Amy Thone.
Jealous. Fully jealous.
She's amazing.
She's fantastic. All the love sent to Amy Thone right now. Love of my life.
I would like lay down on the ground and let Amy walk over me so she didn't have to get mud on her shoes if she needed it.
Yes. Yes, 100%. But she'd be like, though, either like she'd push you there or she'd be like, no, I'm gonna jump. Like,
or she'd like already be covered in mud because she was teaching you something about how to deal with mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just getting really emotional about the mud, like just like throwing
right?
it all.
Oh my God.
Fantastic.
Yes. Was Amy one of your teachers?
Yeah, Amy was one of my acting teachers in my senior year at Cornish. It was amazing. Favorite class.
Everyone who I've ever talked to who had Amy Thone as a teacher is like, she's the best thing that ever happened to
100%. Me. It's hilarious. It's amazing. Like the best. And like my grade in that class was like an A, and then all other grades didn't matter anymore. Like I was like, oh, thank God.
Like, I felt about my stage management class in college is like, as long as Mike Burke approves of me, I'm good. College is great.
It's funny how there's one class usually that'll make you feel that way, and you're like, it's fine. Like my sophomore year acting classes, I was going through it, and it was not as good as when I was a senior, because that's growth.
So.
Yeah, because that's growth. But there's spite attached. You're like, why? I was fine.
I look back at my notes and like my notebooks from even just from like my senior year of college. I still have my senior thesis notebook, and I look at it and I'm like, this is terrible. I would go back and redo so many things about Legally Blonde if I did it now. Legally Blonde was my senior show.
I loved my senior thesis project. I was assistant directing Xanadu, the musical. Junior.
Oh my God.
It was amazing. With Mark Kennison, it was fantastic. My favorite thing ever. Loved the cast. They were the sophomores that year when I was a senior, so it was just like fun. Just like fun to hang out and like direct and do what you want to do.
That is so fabulous. I staged Legally Blonde, which was huge and amazing and breathtakingly fun. And my favorite story about stage managing Legally Blonde, I had an allergic reaction opening night and my mouth started to swell shut. And the thing about Legally Blonde is calling that show, I never shut up. It was just cue after cue after cue after cue. And so I started popping Benadryl until my face stopped swelling. And so I probably had like 5 Benadryl opening night of Legally Blonde. And I was so loopy calling it, but I had done it so many times because we texted the show so well that it went perfectly.
Sandy, you can't do that.
Okay, but the follow-up, I did definitely go to the cast party and have too many drinks and not finish my homework assignment that night.
No, who cares about homework when you're opening a show? Like,
it's Legally Blonde the musical.
Yeah,
it was perfect. What else more do you need? My life was complete.
That's hilarious because the stage manager is supposed to be the one that's like, okay, let me make sure you have first aid. Let me make sure you are taking care of yourself. And you're like, just give me the Benadryl. We have to go, which is also very stage managery.
I think we're going to see a return of things like Legally Blonde and like the Jukebox musical. I think we're going to see a lot of those coming back. That like
I think the appearance of a TikTok musical has sort of given people more access than they deserve in a way, but they're really funny. You know what I mean?
TikTok musical.
Oh, there's multiple. So I don't have TikTok. I don't, but I have Instagram, and they put them on Reels.
Okay, I have to find some TikTok musicals.
They literally did like Ratatouille, the TikTok musical, like on stage. Like they put that up. Like they produced it because people on TikTok wanted it. So actors and people were like, here's the actual version of your TikTok musical.
This is incredible, and I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. And so I watched Bridgerton over the last little while, and there's this one girl who's been writing beautiful songs with like a creative partner who has been just stunningly creating this Bridgerton musical and like characterizing and doing all of the things that you want them to do, and you're like, oh my God, for all of these characters, dude. Okay.
People are so bored, and so like I think that's why we're going to see the feel-good musicals come back, because people are really bored and they want to tell good stories that make them not bored and also like not think about quarantine.
God, yeah, if after quarantine we see any more of the like, this is a Zoom musical about being a Zoom musical because we're in lockdown, I'm gonna lose my mind.
literally, my eyeballs will explode and then I will die.
Right.
Because I can't take any more Zoom musicals or like Zoom shows about being stuck in my house. I want
like, don't talk to me about it. I'm living it right now currently.
I want the Buffy musical episode times a bajillion.
Incredible.
Where it's just like huge musical numbers and people dancing together.
Yes.
That's what I want in the future.
Oh, when we all get to dance together again, that'll be amazing.
Right? Dance parties.
Dance parties. So on that sort of topic of what we want to see, like, what is your show that you think needs to be more canon or just like really done by more people?
So I have a soft spot in my heart for a show called Sagittarius Ponderosa.
Okay.
Which is by M.J. Kaufman, who's a non-binary playwright, and is not their most famous work. If you look them up on their website, they have a couple of other plays that also should be produced. I actually directed Sagittarius Ponderosa. I am not a director, and I will never direct again.
You just call me, I'll be there. Like,
well, hey, we're always looking for directors at Albatross, so I'll keep your info in my pocket.
Yes.
I production managed it and directed it and produced it. With my company produced it, but I'm on the board and I'm the production manager and the personnel manager for our company.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of work, but there's some incredible scenes and a monologue in this show that every single night that we did it, I was there because I was also on the board. So I was selling tickets and concessions and wearing 400 hats. But every single night I would sneak in and poke my nose in through the curtain to watch Jasmine Joshua give this speech because it was just so heartfelt and moving. It's about a trans man who comes home from being, out in the world and to visit his family because his father is dying. And so like, I don't necessarily think it's the right show to do right as we come out of quarantine because it's depressing. Like, spoiler alert, dad dies.
Yeah.
And like, there's a funeral and it's an incredibly depressing show. But it is so moving and so touching, and it touches on the reality and experience of trans people. And I think that's something that is missing from our canon, is that diversity is not something that is ever
1,000,000,000%. Yeah.
Our canon. So that's a show that I'm like, here, have it. I give it to the world. I've read it. I've done it. It's successful. We made money as a brand new company on this show. Anyone can do it.
And as a Sagittarius, I think absolutely, definitely.
Perfect. There you go. Yeah, he meets like incredible Sagittarius tree scientist in the woods. And that's like this cool side plot. And like, it's a really incredible show. And it's like, when we did it, we set it in a, like, different parts of the stage are different parts of the world, and no one ever left the stage. And so like, because it's a very much a family story and there's no like, Archer is like the central main character, but there's no small side characters. It's really a story about all of these people coming together.
I love that.
Things I love. That's, I think, something that you miss a lot in older canon stories, is that you have all these tiny bit characters. And I get tired of seeing all these tiny bit characters, because when you do theater, you really want to have a core cast of people who you see every single day to rehearse. Especially, I think, as we come out of quarantine, it's going to be a like, okay, everyone, you don't get to see anyone else. We're all just together. Would you like to be in a pod with these people?
That makes me think of like Come From Away, which is my favorite musical that I've ever seen. And I saw it at the Rep when they were in Seattle before they went to Broadway. And it was like absolutely stunning. My favorite thing. And there are really like so many different actors who play a lot of different characters, but it does have that like feeling of everyone is who this story is about.
I've heard that about Come From Away. One of my biggest regrets is that I didn't get to see it when it was here.
It was really, really good. I don't remember what year of Cornish I was in, but we went as a school to go see it, which is one of my absolute favorite things about having gone to Cornish, is that I got to see that show before it went to Broadway. And they're gonna put it up on They're gonna make a Hamilton movie out of Come From Away. They're gonna do like a full cast movie on it.
Yeah.
I heard that recently, and it was my favorite thing ever, and I was like, I'll get to see it again. Like, yes.
Everyone says such amazing things about it, and I'm so excited to hear that, because like I have regretted not being able to see it, and we've talked about going to New York, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll go see it in New York. But it's not the same as seeing local people.
It is pretty much an opera, so if you want to listen to the soundtrack, you don't miss anything really, except for the like beautiful staging and all of the.
This is like my favorite part. I also don't listen to. This is gonna sound so weird. I don't listen to a lot of soundtracks. I'm half deaf.
Oh wow! Cool.
And so it's harder for me to listen to get the full story listening to soundtracks.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Well, when it comes out on video, whatever, I highly recommend everyone, and you. Obviously, you'd want to, but listen to it because it's absolutely my favorite thing ever. One of them. So do you have any shows going on right now, or like things that you're doing or that anyone else you know is doing that you'd like to promote?
I am not working on anything at the moment. However, I did write down a thing that I wanted to make sure I mentioned. Justin Huertes and Stephen Tran just released a Kickstarter for their album Swimming.
Ooh.
An album, an adaptation of a musical they did several years ago. The Last Great Octopus something, which I can never remember the actual title of. But that's on Kickstarter, and they hit their goal, their goal in the first day. And so now they're reaching for their stretched goals to do this like visual concept album, combining musical theater and like pop concept albums, Beyonce style, into amazing art piece.
That is so fun.
And they did Lizard Boy.
Oh, cool.
They're the team behind Lizard Boy. So I just have to plug them. And then I always have to plug Sarah Nine, who is this amazing trans artist who I follow, like literally Sarah Nine, SERANINANE.com. And she just like lives her life and produces incredible music.
Amazing.
Those are my two, like, I'm going to plug these things. And then Albatross Theater Lab, which is my company.
Where can we find on the interwebs?
Albatross is on Instagram and Facebook.
Wonderful.
We do not have a TikTok.
That's fair enough. This is fair enough.
But we are definitely on the Insta, but most of our content goes out on Facebook. And then we have a mailing list, but all the stuff that goes on Facebook is also all mailing list stuff usually ends up on our Facebook. And so I think I'm not our communications person, so I don't actually know that.
Don't ask me.
I know like where we keep our stapler.
Yeah.
In my office.
That is amazing.
We do staged readings. We do 4 staged readings a year, and then we take one of our staged readings and produce it.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so we take our audience feedback to figure out what play we do.
Oh, that's really cool.
So that's sort of our cool, like, niche thing that we do that other people do.
Like, you get to help, like, choose your own adventure. What do you want to see us do?
Actually, so, like, we did a staged reading of Sagittarius, and then a year later we produced it, and we only had one of the original actors from the reading in the actual production, and it worked really, really well. So, and people really loved it.
And you made money and you did the thing because you said that earlier.
We did. We are in the black, which I just like as a theater company a year into quarantine when we haven't produced anything, still being in the black is really quite an accomplishment.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That really is amazing, honestly. So yeah, when you start stuff back up again, make sure to let me know and I will plug it on my Instagrams and all of those things. So yeah, do you have any, my last sneaky question, which you kind of already answered, is who would you like to see on this podcast?
Well, I think I originally told you Sarah Nine, but I think you should reach out to Justin and Steven. I think that I will hook the two of you up, or the three of you up, rather, and see if they want to talk to you, because I think that could be really fun for you guys.
That would be wonderful. I was actually just thinking about Justin just from like a Seattle theater person as I like peek in the windows. I was like, oh, Justin would be probably really fun. So
he is super fun. He was in XY at Village. right before we went. That was a year ago. That was the last thing I did before we went into quarantine. And this is my fun thing. I didn't even know he was like a big deal for me. Like, I was like, whatever, Justin, you're a cool guy. I didn't know you were famous.
Famous? It's so funny. I love like the Seattle famous people. They're fantastic.
Right? Show. I was when Steven and Justin first started posting about swimming, they posted something about Lizard Boy, and I just shared it because you share your friends' shit on Facebook.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, I started a Facebook group for non-binary and trans artists, like an international one. And a friend of mine who had started that with me was like, so wait, you just posted about Lizard Boy. I love that musical. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about it. I'm just friends with Justin. And they were like, I'm sorry, you're what now?
Excuse you?
And that is how I learned that Lizard Boy was not just like a
little thing. I also love that because this is like my new way of meeting people. This is me networking also. Like,
way of networking. You have just networked yourself into my life, and
I know
into your life.
Exactly. And it's like I met Ana Maria Campoy this way. I met Meme Garcia this way.
Ana Maria, just like, can I just have a moment of telling you how much I love Ana Maria?
Always.
She's, like, blocks from me, but it's funny because we never see each other because of course we're all locked down. But she was in R&J, and she is just, I gave all my alcohol to her because I don't drink anymore. And her husband is a bartender. And so, like, I just love hanging out with her. She's the coolest person ever. Okay, there's my Ana Maria.
we fully appreciate an Ana Maria love moment on this podcast. Yeah, super fun. I got connected with Ana Maria through Maya Burton and Lexi Chipman, and it was amazing. So anyways, thank you so much for being on my podcast, and thanks for becoming my new friend.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for networking with me, because that's always the hardest part of life.
Always. But this has been really easy because we're all talking about things we enjoy, like contemplating and talking about and like making stuff happen. So it's been like super easy to talk to people.
Good.
I just want to say thank you to everyone listening. This has been such a fun episode, and I can't wait to see you guys all again next week. Thank you, Xandi.
Thank you for having me. Have a great one.
Yeah, you too. Bye, everyone.